Hello and welcome back to 365 Days with mxmtoon. I'm Maia, a singer, songwriter, video maker, Oakland native, and a classic movie buff. I'm also a huge fan of history. I love untold stories, gross facts, hidden secrets, and anything weird, dark, and funky from the past. Each day I'm going to share one of my favorite deep cuts with you, so let's take a look at today's story.
It's 365 with mxmtoon. New facts every day, so don't leave too soon. I'm gonna teach you stuff, no it won't be tough. Gonna go a year till you've had enough. It's 365 mxmtoon.
On this day in 1933, the original King Kong movie had its world premiere in New York City. Almost 90 years later, this adventurous romance is still considered to be one of the greatest horror films of all time. Let's look back on how this film was made and why it's left such a lasting legacy on American cinema. Here's the basic gist of King Kong. A successful filmmaker, Carl, finds a young, beautiful woman named Anne on the streets of New York, and he casts her in his upcoming movie, which he will film in a remote jungle called Skull Island, a fictional place. Now, this is probably where she should have ran away, but it's an old Hollywood movie, so of course she just goes with it. On Skull Island, Carl, Anne, and their shipmate Jack discover a gigantic gorilla, knock him unconscious, and bring him back to New York, where they present him to a Broadway audience as King Kong, the eighth wonder of the world. Again, this seems like a terrible idea, and of course, it doesn't go well. King Kong breaks free, captures Anne in his grip, and smashes through the city until the iconic moment when he scales the Empire State Building. He's attacked by airplanes and destroys one, but eventually he's defeated and falls to his death. Luckily, Anne makes it out alive. Someone says that the airplanes killed King Kong, and in one of the most famous lines in American cinema, Carl says, "No, it wasn't the airplanes. It was Beauty killed the Beast." So, did the inspiration for the Disney film Beauty and the Beast come from King Kong? Nope, we have a French fairy tale from the 18th century to thank. All in all, it's a pretty wild story. For audiences at the time, the film's use of special effects to portray monsters like King Kong was groundbreaking. But beyond that, what made King Kong so culturally significant that it's now preserved in the Library of Congress? Why is King Kong still being adapted into new films today? We even see the film's influence in the names of characters like Nintendo's Donkey Kong. One of the movie's creators, Marion C. Cooper, came up with the name Kong after initially titling the film The Beast. In earlier versions of the script, Cooper wanted the characters to find the giant gorilla in the Congo, and for the beast to fight an oversized Komodo dragon. So, the combination of words like Congo and Komodo gave us Kong, a word now considered synonymous with frighteningly large ape. On the day of its premiere, King Kong sold out 6,200 seats at the Radio City Music Hall. For more on that epic building, check out our December 27th episode. The film also played across the street at the RKO Roxy, which also filled all 3,200 of the theater's seats. Crowds lined up around the block, and even though the movie played 10 times each day, it completely sold out for the first 4 days. This record-setting splash into the box office cemented the release of King Kong as an important cultural touchstone of the era. When we think about what it must have been like to witness the world premiere of King Kong in 1933, we need to remember what was going on back then. Imagine you're a New Yorker in the 1930s. You've watched as the glamour of the Roaring Twenties made way for the Great Depression, the worst economic downturn in modern history. The stock market crashed spectacularly, and the unemployment rate rose to 25%. Think about this for comparison. Even in 2021, when this was recorded, with so many businesses shut down due to COVID-19, the current unemployment rate is still below 8%. New Yorkers witnessed very real horrors in their daily lives. The rising rates of homelessness and families going hungry, but at the theater, they could be distracted for approximately 100 minutes with a completely abstract and unfamiliar horror, a gigantic gorilla climbing up the Empire State Building, snatching fighter planes out of the air and throwing them to the ground. This is probably why King Kong was so successful. It embodies why people love the experience of going to the movies. For a little while, all that matters is what's going on the big screen. Of course, when we look back on King Kong now, there's a lot that doesn't sit right with me and with other people. and falls into the typical damsel in distress trope, where she must be rescued by a man who's attracted to her, and her beauty is deemed so great that it can spur the downfall of the beast. Plus, the film has received much deserved criticism for its depiction of the indigenous people on Skull Island. King Kong can be directly credited with influencing other iconic films like Alien and Jurassic Park, but we can appreciate its place in cinematic history while still acknowledging that it falls short a lot of the time. Released in 1954, the Japanese film Godzilla was also influenced by King Kong, and in 1962, the two separate production companies teamed up to create King Kong vs. Godzilla. Even now, in 2021, yet another Kong vs. Godzilla film is in the works. Something about fighting monsters just never gets old. Now let's talk about a great moment in music. Today, in 2014, Arby's purchased the hat that Pharrell Williams wore to the Grammys on eBay for $44,100. The internet was ablaze, and fans even created Twitter accounts pretending to be the hat itself. Designed by Vivienne Westwood, the oversized hat resembles the logo of the fast food chain. While the Grammys aired, Arby's jokingly tweeted, "Can we have our hat back?" Technically, they did get their hat back, but not for long. Arby's donated the hat to the Newseum in Washington, D.C. The money from the eBay charity auction benefited from One Hand to Another, a charity established by Pharrell Williams himself that supports education for underserved youth. And now for our final segment of the day, I'm going to be going into my own photo archives to see what I was up to on a March 2nd in my life. March 2nd, 2018, I have a photo here of my coffee cup alongside a sketch that I was doing of, what building is this? The Burj Al Arab in Dubai. I was in architecture class throughout high school for like 3 years, and so I spent a lot of time doing sketches of buildings that we were studying, and we had a whole entire unit on skyscrapers. And so I can't show a photo because this is a podcast and it's audio only, but I did draw a bunch of buildings, and I would really enjoy going to class early, actually, before school even started, and sitting down, drinking a cup of coffee, and drawing. And I did that for like a very long time. And I've said this before, but architecture was what I was going to go to college for until I didn't, and I just ended up doing music. But now I'm watching my brother do architecture throughout college, and I literally can't imagine working as hard as he does. So, I'm kind of glad I took the path that I did. Let's travel back in time again tomorrow. Remember to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and you can follow along at 365 Days mxmtoon on all platforms.
It's 365 with mxmtoon. New facts every day, so don't leave too soon. I'm gonna teach you stuff, no it won't be tough. Gonna go a year till you've had enough. It's 365